Welcome back to Realize Your Potential with Mike and Travis. We are so excited to have you back with us. We are now about to move into a new section called Strategy and Planning. And so before we move into that section, we wanted to spend this episode really going through a recap of past episodes and understanding how this new series is going to fit in. But before we start, Mike, what do people really need to do?
Comment, like, subscribe, and make sure you guys are commenting.
Yeah, subscribe. Yeah, the subscriptions have gone up quite a bit lately. And thank you for all the views. Thank you for all the support. It's been fantastic. So, Mike, should we just dive into it a little bit and go through a little recap?
Let's definitely do a recap, but also, like you mentioned, we're definitely being intentional around the why of how we're trying to be strategic with how we're setting up these different ideas to sort of really help everyone.
Absolutely, right? So,
but stay tuned for that.
We got a little bit more in the coffers waiting for you guys. But so we started off this series really with the idea around PPA, and what that was how do you identify your passion? How do you prepare to take action towards that passion? And then the action step of taking action, right? And that has kind of been the framework of our show. It really started from how do we help people find success in the pandemic? Because what we found was it was a really tough time for our family and other people to feel motivated and just have success. And so we wanted to share some advice that we had learned from our failures, many of them over the years, and a few of our successes that allowed us to find success in even the toughest situations. And it really broke down to that is, what am I passionate about? Am I preparing the proper way? And then am I able to take the appropriate actions and review those actions? And so then what that led to was a series that started with identifying your passion. And so we talked to guests like Hal and Danielle Slayton, and they really talked about how to identify your passion and then work towards it on an extremely high level. Both of them really high level folks in what they do, and really giving us insight around identifying that, moving through that, and the steps they use to find success. And then Danielle kind of led us into our next section, which was mindset. She kind of did a little bit of passion and mindset. And she really talked about a champion's mindset and how to really win and keep your mind in the right place so that you can win. And so that really led to our second series after identifying your passion, which was mindset. How do you keep your mind in the right place? And so we're having Danielle there. Then we had guests like Ron Fletcher came in and talked about the discipline mindset and how important that was. I know that was one of our most popular episodes where people took action and said, I can do this and it can help me change my life. And then we ended that section with Booker Harris, Division II head basketball coach, and really talking about, okay, your passion was this, right? I wanted to be in the NBA, or I wanted to do this, and I worked my whole life to get there, and I hit a roadblock at some point, or I hit a point in my career where I knew that passion that I've always been fighting for would never exist anymore, right? Like, it's gone, right? And how do I deal with that, right? Because Danielle talked a little bit about reaching the height of the height and then that being taken away from you. A little bit different feeling than never getting there at all, right? And never reaching those heights. And so so Booker was able to kind of take us through that and identify and how to keep your mind in the right place to really adjust your dreams and really find passion, even though you may be missing out on what your original passion was. And then from there, Mike, we moved into the value of help, right? And so we started talking to people about how do I identify that I might need some professional help, and what are the different types of professional help I could look for. We kind of dove through those different things. And then we've had some really amazing guests. Our mentor through this whole coaching process, Lori, came and talked and really talked about coaching and really the value of coaching and what it has done from an exceedingly high level, from a really high level coach. And then we were lucky enough to have Jessica Rice, personal trainer for my family, which is fantastic, but come in and talk about how physical fitness and can help shape your mentality, which can help you be successful through all of the things that you do, right? And so making sure that you are always keeping your physical fitness in the right place, and when might be the time to reach out for a personal trainer to help you hit those goals and how they can accelerate those goals. And then we ended that series, right, this last episode, talking to Sabrina Hernandez, a high-level executive employee, worldwide leader, global leader, and talked to her about, even with all the success that she had, why was it important for her to bring in a coach and how that took her to even higher heights. And so I thought that was
$1 billion budgets.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. Talking about
$1 billion budgets.
$1 billion, right? Like in revenue, and someone going, man, I'm not where I need to be. And so, that was a really exciting episode. We had a lot of fun shooting that, fun times, and really getting into the mind of a top level executive for a Fortune 500 company, and kind of her successful tips. She shared a couple of those too, so that people could take away. And so we've kind of gotten to this point in the series where, all right, you've identified your passion. I got to get my mind right so that I'm successful as I try to attack that passion. And then maybe I need some help really getting me on the right steps so that I can execute that passion at a high level. And now, Mike, I think we're going to dive into the execution of that, right? How do I develop a plan and a strategy that I can then go action? And that would be the last part of our series, right? Is the hustle and grind, and how do you get, kind of looking at the board, right? Mm-hmm. The hustle and the grind and the execution of that plan, right? But we're going to really go with the strategy and planning section. But Mike, it's been fun going through this and I think for me, it's been cathartic a little bit of exploring all of these different topics, and with one of my best friends in the whole world. So it's been kind of cool at the same time doing that, right?
Yeah. I mean, and two things came up for me while you're doing the recap is, if you all don't know right now, this is absolutely Travis in my passion around leadership, helping people, and really trying to be a support to people in terms of what it is that they need to do. But the other thing that came up for me is, if you all realize, the folks that we have on the show, they're from different walks of life, and the concepts that we're talking about is absolutely functional. If you're a teacher, if you're a executive somewhere, if you're a student that really isn't quite sure if you want to change your major or not, or even if you're a parent or a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and you're looking for change, like these concepts are functional across many different life domains.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make sure that we capture that.
Yeah, and that was really important for us, right? When we were talking about who we were going to have on as guests, is can they speak to their discipline, which is cool for people who are excited about that discipline, but can they also speak across disciplines? And I think that they did a really great job of giving us tidbits that we could take away from all of that. So now it's like, all right, cool. I got all this stuff. Right.
What the heck am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. And so, Mike, take us through that concept. How do we do that? How do we move forward into strategy and planning?
Yeah, for sure. And so what we try to do is we try to define what are people's end goals, right? Like, what do you want to accomplish? You identified your passion, your mindset is right. You're able to reach out to someone in a way to where it's like, all right, maybe I can work through this with this professional, but what are we going to try to achieve, right? And that's starting with the end point, So how do I get my mindset to futuristic thinking around what is it that I want to achieve, So first, we like to start with that, and there's ways that we can definitely do that. A strategy to use is what we call the miracle question, right? And we'll dive into that in a later episode. The other way that we like to then move through that is to be thinking about, do I need to move backwards from what that is, or start in the middle somewhere? Or, once we identify that end goal, we're going to start from the beginning. And just that in itself sort of is hopefully going to empower you to start to free association do a free association brainstorm around everything under the sun that has to do with that end in mind, right? So we do that, and then after that we actually craft a goal, and that goal again is going to be the end point, but there's going to be sub goals within that is going to help you identify milestones, what you might need to consider, pivot, move around, or whatever it is that's going to go on with that future goal in mind. And then the last process that we're going to be talking about in our series is, how do I monitor that goal, and how do I know if that's sort of working or not for me with what it is I want to accomplish, and then maybe how you have to pivot, right? Because if you're 3/4 of the way with achieving what it is you want to achieve, and you're like, oh snap, like that's actually not what I want, it's like all right, cool, how do I then pivot? How do I not stay stuck, and then how do I pivot in terms of maybe crafting another goal, or still reaching for that?
Absolutely. And I think as we were kind of thinking of this, right? And what we hope to create a little bit later is, Mike talked about it. We've got some big ideas about how to take all of these concepts and maybe even put them in a bigger forum, and also put them in a way that maybe people can action them and use them a little bit easier. So, we'll talk about that a little bit longer. But we're thinking about this section, right? It was a section that, strangely enough, we I don't want to say we almost forgot, but we almost glazed over that people do this section. But it's actually probably the section that people skip the most. Wouldn't you agree, Mike? Right? Like, they get really excited and they go out and they're like, okay, I know what I want. I'm just going to charge forward. And they look back and they go, oh, man, I haven't reached my goal, or I'm not where I need to be. And, what happened, right? And I think when you think about the section we're moving out of, right, which is asking for help. If you have a professional coach and you have a professional helping you, they should be helping you with this part of the process. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just asking you questions and just saying, what do you want to talk about, right? And so really being cognizant of these steps, and we plan to have material in the future that helps brand this for you and makes it easier for you to execute these 4 steps. But we're definitely going to take you through what these 4 steps look like, what you should be looking for, what you should be identifying, and how you can put them into your life and then put them into action. So I'm really excited to do that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Me too.
Yeah. And I think really kind of as we look at closing out this section is each of the topics that we've talked about today grow and build on each other. And so they can be used independently, but they also, when used in continuous thought, the way that we planned it out, really can help you be really successful. And we did that with our own business, Mike, right? I mean, we did that, and I know you're going to take people through that as we talk through a couple of more episodes, but we did all of these steps to get to where we are today, to have a YouTube station where we record episodes pretty much like we have an episode coming out every week, and we're at episode 22? Like, that's just insane. Crazy. Right? And you know, this is how we built our website, this is how we built our social media platforms. And they're all part of a bigger plan of an end goal that we sat down and said, okay, what's our passion? Where do we want to be? And what does that look like? And frankly, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort. We're going to have to be patient, but we have our goal for, X years down the line of where we want to be and what that looks like.
Yep. We're definitely using the concepts like you just mentioned. The biggest one that stands out for me is, how do we leverage each other and leverage our network?
Yeah.
Like, how do we reach out for help? Which you all have been experiencing this through the 21 episodes, which is a huge tenet for us around, how do we move this idea forward? Because it's just, of course we can do it alone, right? But what's the fun in that?
Right. Yeah.
What's the fun in that? So
why not do it with the people you love, right?
Yep.
Well,
yep.
Thank you. Be ready to join us next week as we dive into miracle questions. That's going to be, I think that is such an important part, but it's almost a forgotten part in developing a plan. So we're going to go through that next week. But like always, like, share, subscribe, comment, leave some comments in there. We're so excited to take you through this journey, and we cannot wait to talk to you a little bit more next week.
See everyone later.